Here are history's most powerful women who didn't just break the norms, they rewrote the entire rule book. Let's crack the file open. Frida Kahlo first, painter, icon, walking thunderstorm of color and pain. She survived polio, survived a bus crash that shattered her spine. Doctors doubted she'd ever walk again, and she painted anyway. Self-portraits, raw, honest, completely unfiltered. And the twist nobody talks about enough is that she turned suffering into a brand before branding even existed. Museums now guard canvases she once painted flat on her back in a hospital bed. Turning agony into immortality, that's not talent, that's a different kind of power entirely. And she wasn't even close to the strongest on this list. Ada Lovelace, Victorian mathematician, daughter of poet Lord Byron, raised around equations instead of fairy tales. She studied Charles Babbage's mechanical machine and saw something nobody else in the room could see. Not a calculator, a future. She wrote the first algorithm meant for a machine in the 1840s, before electricity grids, before light bulbs in most homes, before any of it. The consequence is that she became history's first computer programmer before computers were even real. Imagine predicting Silicon Valley while riding in a horse carriage. That's Ada Lovelace. Florence Nightingale. Lamp in the darkness. Battlefield hospitals in the 1850s were chaos, blood, infection, noise, and she walked ward to ward at night, checking patients herself. But here's the twist. She didn't just nurse, she collected data, charts, statistics, proof that hygiene saves lives. Mortality rates dropped dramatically. Doctors argued, she showed them numbers, and the numbers won. Turns out math can be louder than authority when you know how to use it. Eva Perón, Argentina's first lady, actress turned political force. She spoke for workers, fought for women's suffrage, built hospitals, built unions, built loyalty so fierce that crowds wept when she appeared on balconies. And the thing that makes her story wild is she never held official office, not once. Yet she influenced policy like she owned the desk. When she died at 33, the country practically stopped breathing. Power without a title. That's rare, and it's dangerous. Oprah Winfrey, media empress, born into poverty in rural Mississippi with no connections and no shortcuts. She turned a talk show into a global empire, and the twist is her influence didn't stop at television. A single book recommendation from her could send sales into the millions overnight. Politicians wanted her endorsement. Authors prayed for it. When your opinion moves markets, that's not fame anymore. That's gravitational pull. Malala Yousafzai, schoolgirl, bus ride, Taliban gunman, shot for wanting an education. Most people would disappear after surviving something like that. She went louder. Speech at the United Nations at 16, Nobel Prize at 17. The same voice they tried to silence now echoes in rooms they could never enter. Proof that courage sometimes shows up in a school uniform. Margaret Thatcher, Britain's Iron Lady, chemist turned prime minister, first woman to lead the UK. She cut spending, fought unions, won a war, and critics called her ruthless, while supporters called her necessary. The twist is, she walked into a political arena built entirely by men and didn't soften a single edge to fit it. Whether you loved her or feared her, she bent a nation's direction for over a decade. Steel spine, pearl earrings, zero apologies. Indira Gandhi, India's first female prime minister, daughter of a political dynasty, led during war, declared a national emergency, suspended civil liberties. Controversial? Completely. Powerful? Undeniably. Her decisions reshaped the world's largest democracy, and her life ended in assassination by her own bodyguards. Power sometimes attracts devotion, sometimes danger, and in her case, it attracted both at the same time. Catherine the Great, German princess who became Empress of Russia, and she didn't marry into that power. She took it, overthrew her own husband, ruled for 34 years, expanded territory, modernized laws, collected art like she planned to outlive time itself. And the twist that gets people every time is she wasn't even Russian by birth. She learned the language, learned the politics, then mastered both completely. That's not adaptation, that's conquest by intellect. Queen Elizabeth I, red hair, sharp mind, England's ultimate strategist. She refused marriage proposals from kings and princes across Europe, and the reason why is the part people forget. Marrying meant sharing power, and she chose the throne instead. During her reign, England defeated the Spanish Armada, arts flourished, exploration exploded across the globe, an entire era bears her name. When history names a century after you, you did something right. Wu Zetian, the only woman in Chinese history to rule as emperor in her own name, and she started as a concubine, rose through palace politics, eliminated rivals, built alliances, claimed the throne, and then restructured the entire government so that talent mattered more than noble birth. Historians still argue about her. Tyrant or genius, brutal or brilliant? And the honest answer is probably yes to all of it. Either way, completely unforgettable. Joan of Arc, 17 years old, peasant girl, claimed she was receiving divine visions, convinced France to give her an army, and then led troops into battle wearing armor twice her size. Victories followed, soldiers believed, commanders listened. And here's the detail that stops you cold. She couldn't even read. Couldn't read and still altered the course of the 100 Years' War. Captured at 19, executed, declared a saint centuries later. From heretic to holy icon, history really does love a plot twist. Marie Curie, scientist, laboratory warrior, studied radiation when nobody understood what radiation could actually do to a human body. Discovered polonium, discovered radium, won 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 completely different sciences, something nobody has done since. And the twist that tells you everything about who she was? She used to carry test tubes of radioactive material in her coat pockets because she liked the glow. She literally lit up the world. It cost her her life years later. Knowledge sometimes demands a price. Rosa Parks, seamstress, quiet presence, Montgomery, Alabama, 1955. Bus driver orders her to give up her seat. She doesn't move. Not loud, not dramatic, just completely still. And that stillness ignited a movement that lasted 381 days of boycotts until segregation laws began to crack. One seated woman stood up to an entire system without raising her voice once. Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply refuses to move. Harriet Tubman, born enslaved, escaped, and then went back again and again and again. She guided roughly 70 people to freedom personally and helped hundreds more find their way out. And the twist that rewrites everything you thought you knew about her? She carried a pistol, not for enemies, for frightened escapees who wanted to turn back and risk exposing the whole group. Her rule was simple: freedom or nothing. That's not just courage. That's leadership under pressure most generals would fail. Cleopatra, Egypt's last pharaoh, polyglot, politician, master negotiator. She aligned with Julius Caesar, later Mark Antony, and people always call it romance, but it was strategy, pure and deliberate. She protected Egypt's independence while Rome was swallowing kingdoms like snacks. And the detail that changes how you see her completely? She spoke multiple languages and rarely needed translators because diplomacy is sharper when it comes straight from your own mouth. Even in defeat, she controlled her own ending, choosing death over capture. Legacy secured, myth eternal. And then the woman whose power came from none of the above. No throne or weapons, no army, and no title. Mother Teresa. Just a sorry and relentless conviction. She walked into the poorest corners of Calcutta and stayed, built homes for the dying, shelters for abandoned children, clinics for lepers. And the twist is that world leaders sought meetings with her. Presidents listened when she spoke because moral authority can outweigh political authority when it's real enough. She proved that influence doesn't require force, only conviction that never wavers. 17 women, different centuries, different continents, different weapons, paintbrushes, policies, equations, courage, compassion. And yet the same pattern keeps surfacing across every single story. Power isn't granted, it's claimed. History doesn't remember them because they were women. History remembers them because they were completely, impossibly unstoppable. So which one of these women hit different for you? Which did we miss? Drop her name below, because your answer might just decide who we open the next vial on. Stay fascinated by the women history tried to footnote. Stay ready for the ones it couldn't, as we keep her files classified.